Hi, everyone. My name is Celia Hamilton, and I'm the Strategic Planning Manager for the Social Biz User Group. Thanks for listening to this interview. Today I'm talking to Louis Richardson. Louis's current role is that of IBM Worldwide Storyteller and Enthusiast on topics of social business and smarter work. He's also the keynote speaker at the upcoming Norwegian User Group meeting on May 21st. Louis, thanks for taking the time to join me for this interview.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So the keynote talk that you're giving for the Norwegian User Group is titled, How Smart Are You? Can you give me a little preview of what you're going to talk about in that keynote?
Yeah, actually, we've spent a lot of time in the past talking about how smart organizations are, and for a lot of people, it's hard to get their head kind of wrapped around that whole topic. And so what I've taken as an approach that just boils it back down to the individual, because that's the important person anyway. And so we begin looking at topics like, who is smart in the organization? In fact, what is smart? What does it mean to be smart? Who's the smartest people in the organization, and how did people discover them, and what's going to happen when they go away and leave the organization? Where's knowledge stored? So in this case, we're going to hopefully get people thinking about their daily life and how finding expertise and finding knowledge is important to them, and then offer maybe some opportunities of how different ways of working, new ways of working using some social techniques and so forth can position those ways of finding knowledge and sharing knowledge in a way that it's impactful, positive impact on both the individual and the business.
That sounds good. That is always something we chat about in our own group. If I ever win the lottery and leave, you're going to need to know how to do this. So that sounds like very useful information.
If you win, take me with you, okay?
Yeah, it's a deal.
All right.
So you're also giving another interesting session, Getting Beyond Good Enough with SharePoint. What angle are you taking on SharePoint in the session, and can you share a tip on how users can leverage SharePoint in their current environments?
Yeah, actually, often we think of SharePoint as being something that's bad, and in actuality, SharePoint itself is not bad. SharePoint, if it were bad, nobody'd be using it, but a lot of people are using it, and many of them are doing things that SharePoint does well, which is like managing content. Unfortunately, when we speak of social, and sometimes when we speak of sharing information, people will say, I have SharePoint, and that's good enough. And then we like to challenge people. Think beyond what's good enough. Think about what you really want to do. And right now, there's a lot of companies who are making significant money and a lot of customers spending significant dollars on extending SharePoint, trying to take that platform and make it do something that I believe it wasn't originally intended to do. And so what we'll do in this session is begin to explore how you can actually use and leverage the SharePoint that you have and use a social layer around that using IBM Connections, how that can actually surround the SharePoint information, how you can do things like have conversations and have forums and have things that often people try to build into SharePoint, how you can actually have that out of the box with an industry-leading solution and still maintain and leverage the knowledge and the smarts that you have inside of the SharePoint system. So it's about making SharePoint better rather than trying to replace it or get rid of it. It's actually about leveraging the knowledge that you have stored in SharePoint.
Mm-hmm. And is there a session at the user group meeting that you're looking particularly forward to attending?
Well, being in Norway, I have two things going against me. One is that I'm language challenged, so I have to look for those that are English, and the second is that I'm technology challenged. I've spent time as a developer and analyst and so forth. That's many years ago, and I've shed that a bit and have been focusing a lot on business needs and how business people work. Mm-hmm. So I'm afraid some of the sessions around the technology, and I bow to people like Gabriella Davis and Martin Donnelly and others who have the technical expertise, and I'm so thankful they're there and supporting the user group, because that information is necessary for the people who run these systems. But I think for me, the ones I'm looking forward to are some of the customer examples. I know that there's some people from Effecto that's coming to a group in Sweden, and they're talking about how connections can help them improve business processes, and it's more from the business side. And then there's a session about Brunval and how they've learned to be connected. Their use case of how they actually moved from an organization that was non-social to one that is social. So for me as a storyteller, I'm there to try to pick up stories. And so I'm looking forward to those customer sessions most. Yeah,
they sound very interesting. Well, thanks for taking the time out of your day to answer my questions.
It's my pleasure.
And for our listeners, the Norwegian User Group meets May 21st to 22nd at the Ferris Bad Hotel in Larvik, Norway, and covers topics for administration, development, and social business. The Norwegian User Group website has posted all the meeting details and a preliminary agenda. If you're listening on Social Biz, just check below the video player for the link to the Norwegian User Group website, and if you're listening on YouTube, check out the video description for the link. And thanks for listening.